Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Is it just me, or does it seem noisy out there? Does it seem confusing? Does it seem like things are harder than they should be? Today's guest is Brian Scrone. I met Brian as part of the American Dream University speaking circuit. He and I were on together out in Oklahoma a few months back, and this program helps military, active duty military that are transitioning into the private sector. It gives them resources and advice, inspiration to make that transition so they understand their value. And I've stayed in touch with Brian, and he's got an interesting story. Started off on a rocky road, built up a business, lost it all after the 2008 crash, and built it back again with clarity and focus. So you're in for a treat. And that clarity and focus is what has me thinking right now. You know, I'm running ads on Facebook. I've got funnels running, got SMS opt-ins, and it's like half or 3/4 of those things are either broken or inefficient or pointing to the wrong URL despite multiple checks. Contacts being overwritten. You know, and I just interviewed a guy today, Joel Irway, and his episode won't go live for another month just based on the way we have scheduling set out. But he's got things simple. And I'm really thinking, yeah, simple. That's good. So, pardon my musing here, but I think you'll see some simplification from me coming out very soon. You know, you see these people just with big funnels and group after group, private group, public group with got to be accepted, and then elite group and super elite secret group. And man, maybe it's just because I'm in that circle, right? I'm just surrounded by people that do this. And I find myself when I speak with business owners, you know, everyday people, kind of the man on the street, right? That's just trying to grow his business and keep moving forward. It's like those are the people I really connect with. You know, you don't need a bunch of fancy things and tricks and gimmicks. You need to get clear on the fundamentals. You need to execute them well. Put in maybe one bell, maybe one whistle, and you'll dominate the industry because nobody else is doing anything. I don't know. It's part of me likes being on the bleeding edge. I do like new technology. I like talking to people, you know, bringing them in on the CRM Sushi podcast so we can see what's coming out. But it's on the bleeding edge. You know, you get cut and you bleed. So and I don't implement all those things. I just get to look under the hood and see what's coming. And if I do get to pick and choose, I usually get free trials and advance notices of those kind of things, and that's really cool. But man, I think it's time we all got back a little more to the basics, focus on what really matters. And so I think you're in for a treat today with Brian. He helps explain that. He's got a book out called What Matters Most, Find Your Focus with the 5 F's. And he's just a sincere guy. He lays it all on the line. You know, he had a rough patch from 13 to his early 20s, and you know, he doesn't hold anything back. And you know, when things get tough, it brings clarity. You know, take it to an extreme. I mean, if you were drowning, right, or had some life or death issue, you know, they say your life flashes before your eyes and people get really clear. Like when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I was rolling last night, you know, there's nothing on my mind when I'm, you know, getting held down or trying to hold somebody down. The only thing on my mind is what's the next move? How can I get out of this? How can I defeat this hold so I can then defeat this opponent? And there's something to be said for having time to clear your brain. There's something to be said for being sore. You know, I'm starting to get back in the gym after a long time off. I've been so sore from jiu-jitsu, I couldn't hit the gym. And now I'm getting in better shape, got better endurance, a little bit better technique. Not a lot, but at least some. And so now I'm getting back in the gym, and it's a whole new soreness because I haven't lifted much. You know, we do push-ups and lunges and stuff and working out, but And, of course, you're pushing and pulling and a lot of cardio, but it's not laying under iron, pushing it. So I'm sore, and there's something good as well, I think, about being sore, that's suffering, right? It gives you a little more focus, a little clarity. And that's what, I think the struggle can be good. From birth, we struggle to get through that birth canal. And but there's benefit to it, and after seeing 7 of those, I kind of know, although, the last one was had to be a cesarean. So I've seen 6. And, they talk about pushing the fluids out of the lungs and other things. They talk about when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, people, they try to cut the cocoon to make it easy. And what it does is it kills that creature, because the struggle of getting out of the cocoon actually pushes fluids into the wings that actually help create the structure and the rigidity of the wings. So the struggle is good. There needs to be a struggle. You need to not be a little wimp. But sometimes it can be too much, right? So how do you find that right level of struggle and not have it be self-mutilation, I guess? I don't know where I'm going with this. Maybe I'm tired and sore from all this. I'm certainly frustrated, like all of you probably are, to one degree or another. And I think it's a good thing. Like this mistake I just made on an ad that I was running. I won't make that mistake again. It cost me $187. But hey, like my dad would say, throw $187 to watch a monkey make a flip on the street. Although it wasn't quite like that. Being Southern, they're a little more colorful. But hey, we try to keep it clean. So all I'm saying is keep pushing. All right? You're not in this alone. The struggle is real, but it's worth it. If you're sitting on your butt, I think it was, I don't know if it was Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, said, I want to leave my kids enough money that they can do anything, but not enough that they can do nothing. We were meant to work, right? Even God worked 6 days out of the week. He rested on the 7th. We're meant to produce. See all these people with their cars and their jets and their watches, and I don't know, it just seems so artificial. I'm all for having nice stuff, but man, what's the inside like, right? What's on your inside? I think you'll help get that answered today's episode with Brian. And I've mentioned it before, but if you do want some one-on-one clarity, check out my my Dig Deep, my deep dive, digdeep.today. It's one-on-one time with me, very affordable. It's recorded, it's interactive, and help you get some clarity. Because the ironic thing is, it's so easy to read the label from outside, right? It's hard to read the label from inside the bottle. So whatever I may be struggling with right now, it's easy to see what you're struggling with and what the answer is. So easy. That's why I have coaches and mentors and go to courses. I'm leaving this Friday to go to Phoenix to meet with some people. So I'm always learning, looking for great people to surround myself with, and you need to do the same to get to the next level. So if you think that's me, check it out, digdeep.today. Now let's bring on Brian. Brian Scrone, half Irishman, and it's the better half, right? World surfer. I read here, formerly depressed drug dealer, 8-figure real estate investor, and all-around good guy, all the way from Florida. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Wes. You forgot to mention the other half was Italian.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that half. So, I mean, are you embarrassed by the Italian part, or why are you holding off on that, man?
I'm not holding off. You neglected it. I just want to make sure that my father gets the appropriate props for, he was half responsible for bringing me into the world. So.
All right. I mean, but you only mentioned the Irish, so maybe that's like a Freudian slip, huh? Like you love your mother more. I see how you are. You're a mama's boy, huh? Deep down, you're a mama's boy. Is that it?
I won't argue with that.
All right. So what is up with this, man? I'm reading your bio. I'm actually on Amazon right now. He made the radical shift from depressed drug dealer. Were you like a pharmaceutical rep, or were you like really a drug dealer?
Yeah, I wish I could say it was legitimate, but it was not legitimate. So I guess we're just going to get
We jump right into it. I'll pull out the rest of your story during the conversation.
All right, buddy. So I grew up in a loving, nurturing household in North New Jersey, just outside of New York and Wall Street. So a real fast-paced environment, and I took full advantage of that. When I turned about 13, I went completely off the rails and got myself into all kinds of trouble, started doing drugs, drinking heavily, started getting arrested, and then I started selling drugs. So what you read is true, and definitely I take full responsibility. They were all, choices I made a lot of mistakes as a kid, but I can truly and honestly say I don't have any regrets. Everything that happened in my past, got me to where I am today. And I want to start off by being clear. I do not have it all figured out. But in the book that we'll talk about, What Matters Most, that I just released, I talk about, getting clear on my own priorities and helping the reader get clear on their own priorities, and then how we invest their time. So I don't want to prescribe anything. Again, I don't have it all figured out. But going through and putting myself through some of the trouble that I did as a youngster, I learned a ton. And it could have been a crisis or an opportunity. I chose to, move out of that lifestyle and the decisions I was making and try and balance myself out and, be as good as a human being as I can. With that being said, I make mistakes on a daily basis. But one thing I can say with conviction is that I'm crystal clear on my priorities that I share in the book around these 5 universal relationships, which I call the 5 F's, and they're faith, fitness, family, friends, and finance. And so I've definitely spent a lot of time thinking about and nurturing, number one, myself, which is what faith is just relationship with yourself. And, no dogma or religion here, but I think, self-love and nurturing yourself is one of the most spiritual things you can do. And then I find that when I do that and I'm taking care of myself, and I'm loving on myself and forgiving myself when I need to, that, those other 4 relationships of fitness, family, friends, and my business and finance, they flow a lot easier and they're a lot more enjoyable.
So hold on a second, man. I mean, earlier you said you don't have it all figured out, so we might have to end this interview. I was looking for somebody that had all the answers.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Wes. If you find that guy or gal, then please send me their cell number, will you?
All right. I'm still looking. I thought it was you. I thought my search was over. Golly, I got to pre-qualify my guests a little bit more stringently, I guess. All right, man. So you're getting into trouble. I mean, you're still young though. You're a teenager. What got you back on the straight and narrow?
Hitting rock bottom, to be honest with you. Some of the story that I told you about of that very sketchy time in my life, it was basically from 13 to about 23, where I just got into all kinds of trouble, and it just escalated, getting arrested, like I said, selling drugs. And then when I turned 21, I ended up getting a couple different girls pregnant within a 6-month time frame, and both of those scenarios ended in abortion, and that was the rock bottom that I mentioned earlier. I mean, it really had a profound impact on, my heart, my soul, my mindset. I mean, it just sent me into a real shitty, deep, dark depression, and I sort of lingered in that for a while, just to be transparent. And it took me the better part of a couple of years to come out of that funk. And the way I did that, which I'm assuming is going to be your next question, is I reached out for help, and definitely started, just working on myself and reaching out and asking for help, surrounding myself with some really, strong, loving, nurturing people that had, been around the block a little bit more than I had. And, I've taken that same philosophy into my business, into all the relationships. I'm really careful about who I invest my time with, and always try to surround myself. I always try to be the dumbest guy in the room. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard that saying. I'm always constantly searching out, smart people that have good intention, that are looking to serve people, and getting their advice and wisdom. So that time in my life was definitely, the catalyst that brought me, hitting that rock bottom is I had a conversation with myself one day. I was out and living in Arizona at the time, and I said, took my dog and my mountain bike back into the Superstition Mountains, back into the backcountry, and had a big meltdown and asked myself some real hard questions and said, it's either you're going to go continue down this path, and you're either going to be dead or in jail, or you're going to have to make some radical changes in your life. So, although I don't want to relive my past, I don't regret it. And hitting that rock bottom is truly and honestly what set me down this path, and, seeking out help from people. The 5 F's that I talked about, Wes, is from one of my original mentors in life. His name's Keith Cunningham. He's a big old Texan. I don't know if you know Keith, but he's in Austin. Okay. And he presented the 5 F's to me about 20 years ago, and it sort of went in one ear and out the other because I wasn't ready to hear it. But I did write it down, and I came back to my notes and really started thinking long and hard about, number one, what are my priorities, and number two, how am I spending my time? So that's really what I share in the book, and hopefully add some value for the readers. I'm a huge, tangible, simple, effective tool guy. So I share some really what I believe to be simple, effective tools that can help the reader, either move through a funk if they're going through it, or enrich, one of those relationships that I talked about. Because those relationships are, at the end of the day, they're timeless and they're borderless. They're affecting everyone, regardless of your age or where you live in the world, or your socioeconomic class. I think we're all touching those things. So it's really personal and subjective on how you're going to prioritize those things. And then, it's up to you how you invest your time accordingly. Yeah.
So, all right, first you say you don't have it all figured out. Then you say you didn't even figure it out on your own. You had to get help. I mean, I'm really – and then I'm looking through the book, and there's not a lot of pictures. So, I mean, that might be 3 strikes, man. I don't know. I don't know if I can continue this interview. Oh, my gosh. But, oh, well. We got it blocked out, so let's just continue, okay?
Well, let's shift focus towards you and your 74 children.
Yeah, that's enough about you. Let's talk about me. I want to talk about me. You want to talk about I. All right, a little Toby Keith for you. Okay, man. So you've come a long way, though. I mean, you're married now, kids. You've got the board meetings. You've got a book. You're still in real estate investing, right?
I am, and just to be again coy with you, that's a huge part of my time invested as we sit on the phone today. We've definitely simplified our real estate portfolio. We're delegating as much as we can within the day-to-day operations of that, and going through a pretty significant refinance now, and simplifying and looking to be spending more and more time on conversations like you and I are having today. I'm focused on what matters most. But our financial wealth comes from 20 years of real estate investments. We did really good at our first go in our first portfolio in California. So I talk about it in the book, we were multimillionaires before we were 30, and then by the time we were 32, we were talking to bankruptcy attorneys and trying to figure out how to pay the light bill because 2008 happened. I don't know if you remember that, or you were exposed to the markets in 2008, but we were heavily exposed to the Florida markets and just got crushed. So we had to eat a bunch of humble pie and figure out how to rebuild. And that taught us a lot of valuable lessons about fixed overhead and the difference between having an abundant mentality and figuring out the difference between abundance around money and, just being careless and reckless with money. Because it got to a point where that's what we were doing. I mean, our fixed overhead just got completely out of control. We were living above our means in 2006 because we were 29, 30 years old and had, a few $1 million, and just to not have the maturity level or the experience to parlay that and to move it forward. I mean, honestly, a lot of it, I don't think anyone had the crystal ball to see the global financial crisis of 2008. And we didn't go out and buy Harley Davidsons and boats with our capital out of California. We plugged it into the Florida real estate market, and the whole bottom fell out. So it was a real humble couple of years there. I was in the middle of getting married during all of that. So when I met my wife, I was a multimillionaire, and 2 years later, I had to go to her and say, "Honey, I can't pay the light bill. I can't pay the mortgage. I can't pay anything." So I learned a ton about her and our relationship. And what matters most to her. She was real supportive and basically put food on the table for a couple of years while we fought off, bankers and brokers and vendors and just weathered through the storm. And then, thank God, fast forward to today, 2017, where we've rebuilt our business and really, really strategically in a way that allows us to delegate a lot and have a good quality of life and keep balance around, these 5 relationships that I talk about in the book.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit, though. I mean, you go, at 21 to 23, you're in this deep, dark place. And within 7 years, you got an 8-figure real estate business. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So we did our first deal in California. Let me back up. We were living in Santa Barbara, California, which for the listeners is probably know that's one of the most expensive, exclusive places, in the country from a real estate perspective. So we certainly weren't going to start our investment career in Santa Barbara because we've always been buy and hold, single family cash flow guys, blue collar starter neighborhoods, and that did not exist in Santa Barbara. So we actually drove over a couple hours over the mountain into a little submarket called Bakersfield, California, starting in 1998. And at the time, Bakersfield was considered the armpit of California, and we caught a ton of slack and grief from, supposedly smarter investors from us on the coast in the LA and Santa Barbara area saying, "You guys are nuts. You're going to get your asses handed to you over there." We ignored them. We listened to the fundamentals. You asked, how did you go from, broke and getting arrested to that in 7 years? Ultimately, it came down to very quickly making some mistakes and then figuring out, building this portfolio that we had to surround ourselves with the smartest people. I've heard this saying and always repeat it that, it's a numbers game and a people business. And to be honest with you, Wes, I mean, real estate is a real simple math game. It's buy low, positive cash flow, sell high. And then it comes down to the people you surround yourself with. So we got hooked up with some really, really good people who became partners and mentors on the ground in Bakersfield, sort of took us under their wing. The timing couldn't have been better. I mean, we bottom fished, from 98 to 2002, 2003, we bought up and held a couple hundred single family homes. And then, 2004 to 2006, between Bakersfield and Las Vegas, they were the number 1 and number 2 markets in U.S. real estate history since they've been paying attention to it from an equity growth standpoint. So, I mean, the houses that we were buying in 98 for $50,000, we were selling for, $225,000 a few years later, and we had a couple hundred of them. So, I mean, you can see how it.
How did you even get into real estate, though? I mean, what made that transition? Because you were in a bad place, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I went from selling drugs and had to stop that because I was
selling drugs in New York or in Jersey to buying houses in California.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy. I had a pit stop in Arizona for 3 years, which is where the trouble escalated, and I got into selling, bringing pot across international borders, and then putting it on planes, and it got pretty hairy and crazy. But I hit rock bottom, which I talked about earlier in Arizona, and I said I got to get the hell out of Arizona. So I migrated, out to the West Coast there. Didn't know anybody, was completely depressed, just floundered for a couple of years, like I talked about. I had a college degree at the time, couldn't get a job. I was the first job I had in Santa Barbara, I was shoveling shit at a horse ranch and bussing tables in a restaurant. And then I took on a job teaching, and although I loved the teaching and the counseling of the kids that I worked with in Santa Barbara, I couldn't pay the rent. And so the catalyst was we were in enough pain financially. When I say we, my business partner and I, who was in basically the same shoes I was, we couldn't pay the rent in Santa Barbara. And we looked at each other, to give credit, we've always had entrepreneurial spirit. I've been working since I've been 10. I got my first job in an Italian deli in Jersey cutting meat and got fired for eating too much prosciutto and mozzarella in the back. But that, jokes aside, I've always had a strong work ethic. And I just wanted to start minding my own business. Obviously I don't handle authority well, or I wouldn't have gotten into all the trouble I did. And I think entrepreneurs can relate to, if you're going to be minding somebody's business, make it your own and try and serve people. So I was teaching at the time in Santa Barbara and couldn't pay the rent. I said, you know what, this is not sustainable. I was, putting food on credit cards and just getting further in debt. And I said, something's got to change. So my partner and I started researching different opportunities and industries, and, our homework and our due diligence just kept pointing back to, if you want to make some money and get some kind of financial stability, real estate has a really good track record. If you do some homework on helping people create some true long-term wealth. And we learned about, passive or leveraged income and debt and all the things that real estate investors learn about. But we made a ton of mistakes in the beginning, like I said, in our first portfolio. But real quickly, we got to get hooked up with some really good people. And
so walk me through that, because I like going through the details, right? Because people a lot of times just kind of gloss over it, right? There I was dealing drugs, then I had 8-figure real estate business. Like, wait, what?
Yeah,
two guys that are in debt can't pay their rent. How do you even build your first real estate portfolio? That's not a given.
No, it's not. So in our business, there's it's called the 3F rule. So there's family, friends, and fools, and you're either going to get your money from one of those three. So we cut right to the chase and went to family because we had some trust obviously built in there with the family. We did our homework.
Where does that come from, right? Because you're right. I have 74 kids. Fortunately, they're all pretty good right now. But if one of them is messing around with drugs and the law and just splits, like we're on opposite coasts, right? So if my son leaves California and now he's living in Alabama, hey, Dad, yeah, send me some money. No, really, I got my head screwed on straight. Yeah, I'm still shoveling horse manure. Yeah, I'm still teaching. Yeah, I'm still in debt. Yeah, I maxed out on my credit cards. But really, give me $20,000 and we're going to buy some real estate. And I'd be like, are you still doing drugs?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? You bring up a really good point. And again, just full transparency, my father was one of our original investors. So was there some unconditional love there? And was he making a good decision? You'd have to ask him that. We made really good money together on that first run, and then we had some problems together in the meltdown. And, some of the investors that were with us from back 20 years ago in 1998 are still with us today. So, yeah, we'd have to do the emergency call to my father to get the answer from him. But he trusted in us. We presented a deal and put together a business plan, and brought in some other outside family for some startup seed capital just to get things going. And I mean, we took a huge risk, and they took a huge risk in believing in us, but it worked really well. I think that they respected the fact that we did our due diligence, that we were surrounding ourselves with some smart people. Like one of the top producing brokers in the whole country was the woman that we got in partnership with there in Bakersfield. And they saw the numbers and took a chance with us, and it worked really well. So that's, there's lots of detail, and I'm happy to go into as much detail as you want. But to answer your question, we started with one deal. When we did that first deal, we used outside money, which I'm a big fan of, always using other people's money in real estate anyway. I think is one of the foundations of leverage is, using other people's money and resources to get yourself going and to build and sustain, to be honest with you. I mean, still today, 20 years later, we have equity partners, and we use bank money and private lenders, and it's just one of the fundamentals of real estate investing. But I think that you have to present yourself and have to be in integrity, and the person has to trust in you. I mean, there's another saying from the book is you can't do a good deal with a bad guy, right? So we started with family and friends and bringing them on as partners, and then parlayed it into a much bigger business and portfolio where we're using institutional funds and money brokers both nationally and internationally. So it started with one deal. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were broke. We had credit card debt. We put together a business plan. We identified a market with sound fundamentals, and one deal parlayed into two, and two into four, and that's the rest is just going through ups and downs in real estate cycles and understanding fundamentals of real estate markets and the timing in the real estate cycle, which sitting here today, I still don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a much greater respect and understanding of the fundamentals and understanding the real estate cycle as well. Because you could have the fundamentals, but if you're investing in a slump when you should be sitting on the sidelines, which is what we did in Florida in 06 and 07, then good luck, because you're going to have a hell of a roller coaster ride. So where I'm at today, Wes, fast forward 20 years, I want to simplify. Like I said, we're selling down a good chunk of our portfolio. We're refinancing a legacy portfolio that we want to keep for the long term, and passive leveraged income. And I'm definitely at a transitional point in my life where I want to spend a lot more time focused on what matters most to me, and the things that I talk about in the book.
Yeah. So you don't have it all figured out. You didn't do this on your own. You don't have pictures in your book, and you don't have a crystal ball. I mean, that was the one last thing. I was like, I thought you were going to tell me exactly where to invest my money for like unlimited returns, and you don't have that either, man. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
I don't know. I mean, we could shift focus and talk about you and your 74 kids.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about me. All right, good. That's why I like you, man. You bring it around to the key things. So, all right. So you rebuild. So you're still in real estate, right? Or are you are you diversifying out of it, or still?
No, very, very much heavily involved on a day-to-day basis, but we're setting up and delegating again, bringing on some people onto the team and delegating strategically a lot of the day-to-day so that it frees up our time. Because ultimately what we're talking about is freeing up time, right? I mean, the whole reason why I'm still doing real estate today is because of the leverage of time it gives me. I haven't figured out another way to make, sustainable leveraged income and then building long-term wealth too from an equity standpoint. Because we've always been buy and hold guys and positive cash flow guys, but the true long-term wealth has come from the equity growth in the portfolios. And that shit takes time. I mean, I'm going to give you another aha, is that you can't get rich quick in real estate. I mean, I know it sounds overly, like duh, we all know that, but a lot of people are just see the shiny penny and they think, oh, look, this guy made, 40, 50 grand in this deal in 30 days. Unfortunately, a lot of that comes from television and media and not to beat up HGTV, but people watch TV or they read an article and they hear about how this guy made a ton of money quickly, and they think that's the reality. But the reality is that it's a long-term play, and with that said, it is, in my opinion, the best asset class in the world for investments.
Yeah, I know. It's you look at historically, the millionaires and billionaires of the world, a good chunk of them made it in real estate.
That's exactly what helped us make our decision when we were, 24, 25 years old, credit card debt, broke, and trying to figure out how to pay the light bill. We were like, how do we make money?
Right.
Yeah.
I keep asking this of people, and I don't know if I'll ever find the answer, but, I'm on the quest to find a way to help people make it without hitting rock bottom. Mm-hmm. But is that possible?
Absolutely. Here's from my experience what I know. Success and failure are 110% personal. They're subjective. And what looks like success to one guy might look like an absolute nightmare or failure to the next. So I think for the listeners and to answer your question, there is no right or wrong. There is no magic pill. I hope and pray that people don't bang their head against the wall the way I did as a youngster. But I'm also not naive, and I know that I just had a meeting with a father and a son yesterday. The son's 20 years old. I mean, just going through an incredible amount of issues, trouble. So everyone has their hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell calls it, I hope that people don't have to hit rock bottom or go through the shit that I did. And the reality is a lot of people won't. But here's the reality. Life has ups and downs. I don't think anyone's living in a bubble the last I checked. So the idea is to, number one, is to enjoy life. Like, I think a lot of times we get so wound up and so focused on either one, making money, or two, whatever it is that we got on our plates on that specific day, right? I mean, the world is a pretty busy place with, technology and internet and social media and all the other things that we're juggling. But if we can just take a step back and, figure out what matters most to us before we worry about what's next, I think that's going to help people ease the pain or the potential pain or ups and downs that life does bring. But the harsh reality is no one lives in a bubble. With that said, I think that we're going to get what we focus on. So I'm hyper focused on what I have instead of what I don't have. We have some rituals with my young children and my wife that we do around gratitude, which, it sounds woo woo and it sounds like, pie in the sky, but at the end of the day, it works for us. I know it works for a lot of what I perceive to be very successful people, having a healthy mindset and focusing on all the blessings that we have. I mean, I know that you just went on a big trip. Were you South America, right?
Yeah, Argentina.
Argentina. So I don't know how exposed you got into the countryside there, and it's a developing nation. But I mean, I've been in some places in the world where, clean, potable drinking water is a luxury for, 1 billion out of the 8 billion people that are on the planet. So I think it all comes down to, we live in our own reality. Our reality is between our ears. You can mitigate these ups and downs and these bumps and bruises in life by, I think, surrounding yourself with good people, using some tools that I think, the tools that I share in the book, they're not all mine. Some of them are my mentors or teachers that I put my own tweak on, but I never ever speak or teach from theory. It's always from experience. So I'm only comfortable, sharing a tool that I've tried and tested and, made some mistakes with and ironed out some kinks, and then can share it with people. But, there are some, this catchword or this cliche word of hacks, everyone's trying to figure out life hacks and shortcuts and ways to get in and around things. There is no magic pill, but I think that there's some great tools out there. I applaud you. I know I'd like to lay into you a little bit, but I mean, I think, what we're doing on this call is hopefully, shedding some light and educating, and, you've created a platform here to let people share their ups and downs, and hopefully help people, mitigate and avoid some of that in their own lives.
Yeah. That's the goal, so how did you shift that focus? Because in all of my studies and experience and being an entrepreneur, being a coach, working with clients, we do focus on the negative. That's why golfers, there could be a pond, right, a little lake, the size of a teacup, right, and somebody can pull their driver out and hit it 250 yards right into that thing. Right. And meanwhile, with a pitching wedge, they can't hit a green, bigger than an acre. So because we have that negative focus, right? How did you keep a positive outlook, or, back in the beginning, or were you literally you had nowhere to go but up? Right.
Yeah. It's you can't fall off the floor. So for me, the only direction was up. But, Zig Ziglar, I don't know if you know any of his stuff. He's got a great saying that I always keep in the back of my mind. He talks about motivation, and he uses the analogy, motivation is a daily practice. It's like, same thing as showering, right? If you don't shower on a daily basis, you're going to start to stink.
Yep.
And if you're not working on yourself and educating yourself and, learning these tools that we talk about and share in the book on a daily basis, then good luck, because you're going to start to stink, and you're going to have this negativity, and your focus is going to go to shit very quickly. So again, this whole conversation in the book, and the conversation you and I are having, it's a process, not an event. And you wake up the next day, hopefully you learn something from the previous day, and you can parlay that in and continue to move forward. But yeah, it's a process, not an event. And I talk about that a lot in the book as well, where you just got to get up the next day. This morning I woke up with pink eye from, like I shared with you, from my kids. And I was like, shit, I knew I had some interviews coming up, and I'm going to be, talking to people with my eyes bulging out of my head. So I could focus on that, or I could focus on the fact that I had the opportunity to share my messaging with some people, and be grateful that I have kids. And I mean, it's really easy to go down a rabbit hole one way or the other. I think that the leverage, or the biggest part of that is truly and honestly who you surround yourself with. The rule of 5. You're going to become the sum average of the people you surround yourself with. So I am really, really anal about that. I mean, you're going to start to walk like them. You're going to start to talk like them. You're going to start to take on their personalities. So really take a long, hard look at that. I mean, I carry the 5 names of the people that I invest the most time with around in my wallet with me. And I look at it periodically, and, if there's any little inkling of, well, is this person, the question I ask myself is am I amped, and am I pumped, and do I feel energized when I have an interaction, or I get together with these people, or do I feel drained and negative? So be real careful on who your environment's a big thing.
Sure. I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, it's all real simple stuff, Wes. I know but it's true, and it's effective.
Well, I'm a simple man.
It's a great tune.
So then things have evolved. So we got a family. I mean, pink eye. What a rookie, dude. I mean, I got 7 kids. No pink eye for me. All right.
Well, you must not be helping your wife with diapers and toilet habits enough, because that's usually where pink eye comes from the kids.
Dude, look, all I can say is that coincidentally, and it's purely coincidental, that when the kids get sick, I have a trip that I have to go on. So I got to put food on the table, man. It's for the kids.
You are a piece of work, and I would love to have your wife on the next call with. I'll tell you what. Next call we do together, I'll invite my father and your wife onto the call.
There you go.
We'll see how this goes.
All right, deal. So now what, man? You're surfing the world. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a passion of mine. So One of the things I talk about, one of the F's is fitness. And for me, that's a big one. I prioritize fitness in front of family. So the way I present the 5 F's in the book is how I prioritize them in my own life. And that's not to make it right or wrong for the listener or reader. Again, it's very personal and subjective for me, but faith comes first. Try to take care of myself and my relationship with myself and my higher power, which I call God. Next comes fitness, which you asked about. I have found a complete passion and love of the ocean. I live in Florida. I live on a barrier island, so it's very geographically desirable for me to play in the ocean and use that as a big part of my fitness. Because if I don't sweat on a daily basis and take care of my body, the reality is I'm not going to be able to chase my 3 and my 5-year-old, and I'm not going to be able to keep up with my wife, who's in really good shape, and enjoy my family and friends and run my businesses. So surfing is something that I crave on a daily basis. I had a big training this morning in Florida. I will say that the surf is very flat a lot. Mm-hmm. So I've picked up, I train with a buddy who's a total animal. He's one of the best stand-up paddle board racers in the world. So I've, hiring a coach and trying to figure out who's smarter than me. I hired this guy. He's become a dear friend. He pushes me, he challenges me. He's got me doing races that I never would have got involved in. But if the surf's flat, then I take my, the stand-up paddle training board and drop it either in the ocean or in the river and just go for a long distance paddle. And, I sweat my ass off. It makes me feel really good. I'm out in Mother Nature. Sometimes I do it with family and friends. So, it's definitely a passion of mine. I mean, I definitely chase waves all over the world, and I've made some of the biggest business deals in real estate with some investors literally out in the surf while we're surfing. Some Australian friends that I talk about in the book, they become some of our largest investors. So the ocean and surfing's been a huge blessing for me. Something that I'll do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, man, thanks for opening up and not shying away from any of the tough questions.
I really enjoyed our time together, and great interview. You asked some really thought-provoking questions there, so I appreciate that.
So where do we send people to learn more about you? You can actually get a free chapter download of the book at my website, which is just my name, brianscrone.com. And we do have a parent-child retreat business. We actually have a retreat coming up in Utah in just a short couple of weeks. That's familyboardmeetings.com, and that's specifically for parents and their children together one-on-one to nurture and deepen that relationship. So we didn't go into that conversation, but you can check out that website if you're a parent, you have a kid, and you want to go deeper with them. We'd love to serve you and your family and have you join us at one of our retreats. So give us that URL again.
familyboardmeetings.com.
All right. And we'll link to that. I got a link to your book, link to your Facebook group. I've got a link to your website, so the Brian Scrone website. Then we'll link to the familyboardmeetings.com as well. Well, man, when you come into Cali, huh? When are you going to come see me?
I'm actually out there quite a bit. What town are you in?
I'm in the thriving metropolis known as Murrieta.
Actually, I know that because I just sent you a book a couple of weeks ago. So
that's right.
I am out there. Our biggest investor network in businesses in Silicon Valley and San Francisco. So I'm out speaking in California every 60 to 90 days. So I'll hit you up and we'll get together and I'll whoop your ass on the golf course.
Woo, man, y'all heard it here first. Well, what we're going to do, because I'm leaving now for jiu-jitsu, we'll do 90 minutes of jiu-jitsu, then we'll go golf. Okay?
Nah, that's all right. I'll see you. I'll see you out in the surf. Yeah, I saw you. I've seen you rolling around, and all the respect. I don't want the cauliflower ear, and I don't want any broken bones.
Dude, I don't have it yet, but I got a touch of it. Both ears are a little sensitive. It's kind of crazy, but I'm hooked, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I have some buddies that are heavy into that. Some guys I surf with, and it's a phenomenal sport. So much respect to you on that, and I will be happy to come and watch you work out.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks,
Ryan
Wes.
Scrone, all the way from Florida, man. Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. It's been great.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, dude. Have a great day. So, what's your reality? What's going on between your ears? I think our biggest problem right now is that we don't know. I don't think 1 in 100 people can answer that. I think there's too much noise. Like I said, faces too buried in our devices, looking for immediate entertainment, instant gratification, continuous entertainment. Stream a Netflix series, switch to an Amazon series, order Amazon Prime, get it here overnight. Keep checking Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, back to Twitter, over to LinkedIn. I don't know, maybe some MySpace. Stream some music while watching a video or movie, while watching the game, while checking your Instagram stories. I mean, it's insane. So maybe after this episode, pause this and let yourself have a little quiet. All right, turn the radio off if you're in the car. Turn the iPhone off if you're listening to this on your smartphone, and just be. You know, it's interesting how many people say this, and I agree. You know, how much we get done, how much thinking we get done on a plane. I know this one author, he needed to get stuff done, and he booked a round trip flight to like Tokyo. He flies business class, got all comfortable, and just wrote for like 26 or 28 hours straight or something crazy, and got it done, you know, by removing the distractions. Allow yourself to be distraction free for a little while. Now that the weather is warming up here in SoCal, you know, I wake up early, but I'm able to go outside now and just, it's a little bit noisy. We live near a busy street, but we're up about 150 feet. So we're not right on it. Still hear it. So it's not like it's total silence, but it is pretty quiet. And the sun's not quite up, but the light's coming. And I just like not being surrounded by my computers and, you know, office, and just have a little quiet time. And I may read a little bit then. I read a lot with my iPad and Kindle, but also paper books. But so I'll have those, but I just like the quiet, you know, sip a little coffee, watch the sun come up, let things kind of percolate in the brain. I think you need to do that too. So I hope you got a lot out of this. If you need some help getting that clarity, that focus, knocking the cobwebs out, go to digdeep.today. Let me know who you are. I'm actually, as soon as I finish this, I'm updating the questions. Actually, from something I've been reading, some adding new questions to that. I mean, it's a deep dive. It's super affordable. It's going to make you work. And then we're going to meet on the phone, on a video, on a Zoom call, actually. So there's video, there's screen sharing, there's audio, of course. You can bring in a partner, a spouse, whomever. We're going to get into it. So if you need that kind of clarity, if you're not afraid of getting that kind of clarity, if you have the courage to get that kind of clarity, take me up on it. digdeep.today. Thanks for listening. Please share this. Leave some reviews. Let the world know that you like this. Let me know that you're out there. And as always, remember to sell different.